Hey, fun fans! We're giving away a Devastator 3 keyboard and mouse combo courtesy of Cooler Master on YouTube for this month of June. All you have to do to enter is subscribe to Fun's YouTube channel and leave a comment on what you think about this year's upcoming game. You can enter once per upload, and we'll pick a winner near the end of June.
Enjoy this next match from the Houston Championship, the Jemison Division, match number 125.
All right. So again, just to provide a little bit of setup, this is the highest scoring match of the Houston Championship. Just to provide a bit of context about like the disparity between these two champs, in the West region, between West and South Super regions and Houston Championships, this score was hit towards the later part of Houston Champs. It was actually the last day, Friday afternoon. And the score was 688. The same score, as you guys probably know, was hit twice in East Super Regionals, quite a few weeks before. So already coming into this, we see that Houston was a bit weaker. I personally never thought that I would see this type of score at Houston. I always thought it would be soft cap or maybe a 3 or 4, maybe like 2 glyphs in addition. But this match really did push that boundary. So another thing, a bit of a disclaimer. So this match is extremely one-sided. It's very unlike Ethan's match, the last one. Coming into this, we had 4216 Rise of Hephaestus. They in Houston's, according to their OPR, coming into Houston's World Championship, they were ranked first. They had the highest OPR, very very strong team. And we had Team 12670 Eclipse. Team 12670 was a bit of a dark horse. They were the first pick of the first alliance in South Supers, but personally they were a bit unheard of up until Worlds. But that really changed. This is Friday afternoon. By this time, they had established themselves as one of the strongest, if not the strongest, FAR Cypher robot. They could Cypher and Double Relic on FAR very, very easily. So going into this, we have 2 insanely strong robots. On the Blue Alliance, we had robots that were capable, but nowhere near the household names as these 2 teams, especially Rise of Festus. So as we start this match, we can see both of these teams on the Red Alliance easily get their 2 jewels. On the Blue Alliance, both teams get their jewel. I believe the Tiger Bots, 7593, does not get their glyph at all. They just sit on their balancing stone. 4216 goes for their multi-glyph and are successful. Whereas Team 12670 goes for their multi-glyph, but unfortunately are not successful. This brings a little bit of a question as to the strategy chosen by these 2 teams. 4216 coming into this event was very, very strong on a multi-glyph on FAR. And honestly, they were very widely known as one of the strongest robots to play FAR. In Houston Championship, these 2 robots that could play FAR so effectively were 4216 on one hand and 724 on the other. Rise of Festus and Redneck Robotics, arguably the 2 strongest teams in this entire championship. The fact that these guys, I feel the fact that 4216 chose to go for near and allowed 12670 to play far really pays homage to the true potential of 12670 and the true strength of that team on that far crypto box. So as we continue this match, we have these 8 seconds of play. They're picking up their controllers. Awesome. And the match has started. As we can see, the Tiger Bots are struggling a little bit, whereas 4216 and 12670 are both immediately going to score their glyphs. 12670 had to de-score because, as I mentioned, they were a bit unsuccessful with their multi-glyph. So they had a glyph in their robot, wasn't working out for them. They couldn't place it, so they just collected and put it back. 12670, at this point, well, you can't see it right now because the cameraman focused on this robot 7593 instead of focusing on the whole field, which is something that I feel is a bit problematic, but I'll get into that later. At this point, 12670, 4216, they both have I think 3 cycles in. They're both very, very, very strong at this point. The Tiger Bots 7593 seem to be going for their relic. at this point, it was almost known. It was known that these guys that they weren't going to win. You may say it may feel a bit crude to say this, but it was true. Going into this match, Tigerbots and 7224 knew that they probably weren't going to win this, so they managed to at least collect one of their scoring elements that they might have felt would have been a bit harder later on. And as we move into this, I believe, so as we move into this, 4216 is almost done with their cipher with about 40 seconds remaining in this match. 40 seconds remaining, that's all right. That's all right for them. They'll definitely get their cipher done. But a big part of why they have 40 seconds remaining in that match, which is a slower cycle for them, mind you, is because they scored RP. The two are brown blocks on the Blue Alliance's crypto box that complete that column were actually scored by 4216 in an attempt to get their additional points. They had seen that the Blue Alliance simply wasn't scoring enough for them. And I think that that's something that was very well played by 4216. Hephaestus definitely could have scored. Could have had one of the fastest ciphers of this tournament, and could have very easily won this match and sat on their balancing stone with nothing to do, with like 20 seconds remaining. But they didn't, and I think that it may seem initially on face level that that's something that they're doing just because they're weaker, that they're slower, but in fact it's not. They were so smart in terms of really getting understanding their potential, understanding how quickly their robot can work, and pushing their limits right to the edge of that boundary. So if we can continue this match, we can see that Rise is scoring another 2 glyphs, and at the same time Eclipse is also doing their own thing on the backside. And because there are so many glyphs left on this field, these guys are having no trouble working around each other. With 30 seconds remaining, Eclipse has completed their cipher, and so has 4216, almost at the same time. So with this relic score, we can see we basically know that these guys are winning. One thing that I really liked about these two robots was they were able to work very well together. Both of these robots scored the exact same teleop. Even though Hephaestus scored slightly more in autonomous, they both did the exact same things during the teleoperated period. Which is something that I think is a bit unique when it comes to such high scoring matches. Generally, the team on near is able to take both relics, but in this case, that wasn't what happened, because the team on far really held their own. But one thing that we do have to notice in this match here is that Hephaestus did 2 trips of RP. One of those trips was to fill up that column that you see on the far blue crypto box, and the other is actually hidden by 7593 right now, but it was just 2 blocks in a column with nothing else. Personally, I have very strong opinions on how RP is played, and I feel like Hephaestus did one trip correctly, but they didn't do the other one. And I think that the first trip that they did with the finishing up a column, 24 points with 2 glyphs, was the correct move, right? Like, yes, definitely you basically got 24 points for nothing, right? You were already there. You were collecting the glyphs from that side. If we can move back to, I believe, about a minute left in this match, they already had those glyphs. They were basically ready to do it. But the second dump, which was on I think the right side of the near crypto box of blue, was not correct. They only scored 4 points with those 2 glyphs right here, actually. And what did that really do? What would 4 points do in the grand scheme of things? I personally feel with 9 matches of qualifications, 4 RP is not worth anything. Obviously you have to score 4 RP to score another 24, right? You need to score these 2 glyphs to score 2 more to get that column. But the mistake that I feel that Rise of Hephaestus really made here was the fact that they didn't. The fact that they didn't go for those other 2, even though they were winning so handedly. it did make a bit of a difference at the end, which is something that I sort of want to move into now. So, going into this match, right? Like when everything was queued, the beginning of the day, both of these teams were ranked 13th and 14th respectively. Hephaestus was 13th, Eclipse were 14th. They had both lost the only loss they would have at the entire tournament. 4216 had lost a match, I think, a few days prior, and Eclipse had lost their match I think the match before this one. It was a very close match, very disappointing to see. But these two teams, I believe, had recognized that they had very, very easy schedules from this point onwards, because none of the teams that they were against were truly powerhouse. None of the teams could come close to what these two teams were capable of scoring individually. So they had made that connection, I feel, but they didn't realize that they had to act on it to be successful, and to really to make the rankings work in their favor. So as we ended this match, right, you can see this is a perfect soft cap, but with the 4 glyphs in autonomous. So this allows the alliance to get 688 points, tied for the world record at the time. But your blue alliance scored 135 points. And of course, a large part of that was due to Gluten Free's RP scoring. And this begs the question, because if Rise of Hephaestus, because Rise of Hephaestus at this point, at the end of the entire tournament, at the end of championship, Rise ranked 3rd, Eclipse ranked 5th, and Eclipse unfortunately wasn't picked by anyone. So Eclipse ended up not playing in the eliminations. Eclipse was, I believe, 100 and some odd points from clinching that number 4 seed, but Rise of Hephaestus was 85 points away from clinching 2nd. And this actually means quite a bit, because Rise of Hephaestus actually lost in the semis because they were unable to get their first choice of pick. They were planning on choosing team 6929 Data Force, arguably the strongest team in the division, but unfortunately the 2nd seed stole that away from them, stole them out from under their noses. And if Rise was the 2nd seed as opposed to the 3rd, they would have had the opportunity to move on a lot further in the tournament than they did because of this. So we can see a lot of this RP scoring here, but the thing that the main question that I had, or at least the main kind of the main input that I had about this, was, how do you score RP? And I really want to hear a bit from you guys about this. So, Nathan, Ethan, do you have any thoughts?
I'll let you go first, Nathan.
I don't know. Not really.
All right. Well,
I kind of agree with what you said regarding that whole match there.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, absolutely. So there's kind of an interesting discussion that I've heard about whether or not scoring for RP is graciously professional, which to a point I understand. So the argument that is, I'll play devil's advocate because I don't personally agree with this. The argument that's being made against it is that it's kind of not necessarily a personal attack, but it's kind of a challenge against the other team. Like, yeah, we know you're never going to win, so we're just going to score some points for you. Which I can understand some people taking offense at and not liking, but at the same time, it does benefit both alliances because ranking points is the losing alliance's score, and it's a strategically sound move. And I know, like, we've scored, personally, our team has scored 12 columns of RP this season. We did it a lot because it's how you place well when your match schedule is bad.
That's definitely a valuable insight. I completely agree with that, honestly, because you can only depend on your schedule, or you can only depend on winning to a point. If there's a match that you're going to lose, and there's a match that everyone has lost, this is the tiebreaker, and you need to really, really step up the game, I feel, in order to really break that tie. So, I mean, going back to this match, right? Like, if you just look at it, 4216 could have scored an entire crypto box with Cypher for the Blue Alliance and still won the match handedly. So, and if they had done that, if they had even come close to doing that, they didn't have to score the full cipher, but if they had scored more than 4 glyphs, they would have been that number 2 seed, and they could have arguably won championship. So I personally feel like it's hard. It pains me to say this, but I personally feel that no matter how much it feels like a rub in the face to your opponents, how much it feels like it's on GP, if your goal is to win champs, you got to go all out. And I think that's something that alliance didn't do. That alliance forewent for, I mean, admittedly, getting the world record or tying the world record was impressive, right? There's no doubt about that. But was it really worth it? Because at the end, both of these teams weren't able to perform successfully when it came Saturday.
Yeah.
I will interject my wisdom. I don't know if I can call it wisdom, my opinions. I'll admit my team has, or I guess I have scored for the other team. We didn't actually do that this year. We never really saw an opportunity to. We most definitely should, but I think we were more focused or motivated to getting the first cipher and then the first full crypto box and then the first cipher in Chicago. We were the first team and one of 2 teams to do that out of 40 some teams, which was kind of fun. Last year, though, we definitely did score balls for the other teams. Definitely left beacons for the other alliance. Definitely scored particles. Mainly one match. We had no opponent. We had no partner. I think all 3 robots were broken, so everyone sent a team representative, so it was just us on the field. So what else are you going to do? I mean, all you need to do is like cap to win that, cap and score 35, or just go crazy and do things.